damn marketers. This is where we're headed.
Marketers.
There's the theme of the episode. Push the damn button.
This is the Long in the Boot podcast, the podcast coming to you from the heel of the boot of Southwest Louisiana. I am your host, G Long, and across the way is Deb.
Hi, G.
Hey, Deb.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
I am too. It's summer vacation.
Vacation.
Yes, school is out.
School.
No, don't do it.
Oh, okay.
It's too easy. Yeah, Alice Cooper didn't realize. Well, maybe he did realize the marketing of his song was going to be
for summer.
The rest of eternity, as long as we have school.
It's like sailing away. You can't not finish.
All right, Cartman.
Hey.
Do the stuff.
Oh,
you want to get in touch with us? Hey,
please.
And if you do,
please get in touch with us.
Yeah, you're getting recorded.
And yeah, we're definitely going to play you because that. Oh man, I'm so happy about.
I think we need to talk about genitalia more often.
Can you stop banging on the table? And we should talk about genitalia more often.
You said banging on the table.
In the same sentence as genitalia.
Yeah, see.
Okay.
I didn't do that. That was you.
Oh, you are disgusting. Anyway, if you want to reach the Long in the Boot podcast, it's 337-502, wait a minute, 9011. I got confused for just a second. And
I like Biden.
Put those away.
Don't try to blame me. I didn't. Listening audience, I did nothing.
And anyway, yeah, that's right. We're respectable teachers. We would never do anything.
It's summer. I'm not.
Oh, that's right. Technically.
That gig is put away for a short time.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to whip it out.
Whip it good.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, like I said, 337-502-9011. The email, of course, longintheboot@gmail.com. And if you don't want to mess with those, you can just, if I'm on your Facebook and we're friends, you can just send me a message. It's cool.
And if we're still friends and you've been listening to us all this time, these 3 years, then you truly are sticking with us.
By the way,
I appreciate you, community.
Hi, Aaron. There we go. And
you are pandering.
Well, I am.
You're no better than an advertiser.
Hey. He is a service member, and he is servicing our nation.
Yes.
Right now.
As so many men and women are.
And for that matter, if you're listening, son, congratulations, Master Sergeant Dakota Long.
Master Sergeant.
I know.
Yeah, I know. That's really a thing.
That's right.
Yeah, impressive.
And, very proud. Still not convinced he's my son, judging from his stick-to-itiveness versus my own. So that means, of course, that I'm accusing my wife of infidelity. And
it's been the American dream. Well, he clearly is my side of the family.
Oh, man.
That's
I'm
absolute. So
yeah, no question.
Well, anyhow, so service members, men and women, and trans of all service, everybody.
Did you say trans?
I did. I'm including everybody.
Oh my God! Now we're going to have protests.
Well,
and
what am I going to say?
How am I going to sell this tuckable underwear now?
Yeah, that was all weird.
You know what?
Right.
Can we just?
Did you want to say something about it? I do. I was just being inclusive because I don't really. Here's
the thing.
But
I don't care.
Just leave our kids alone.
That's it.
It's that not simple. To children.
You don't need to market trans bathing suits to children.
No.
Just market the bathing suit. First of all, what child needs to tuck? And honestly.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's not go
there. But still, it was all just stupid. And it's all been stupid. But it turns out, actually.
Well, you know what? Like anything else, money talks.
I saw a comedy bit from the early 1990s.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the books, the first one, the big one was Heather Has Two Mommies, and My Dad's New Roommate. Those are the two. That
came out in the early 90s.
Yes.
As a way to make those children feel like they were a part as well.
But it was to make them feel like they were a part of normal family life versus
where we're at now,
where it's being marketed.
Was that the Bill Hicks thing?
Yeah.
When we were talking about marketing. Okay.
I was going to use Bill Hicks, but he seemed really angry. Could have been the fact that clip, he probably already knew he had pancreatic cancer and was pissed off.
Oh, and he was
just
saying, "Let's just go for it."
Well, if you were 30 years old and were told you were going to die, I guess you have a right to be a little angry.
Yeah,
I think.
I suppose so.
All
right.
Anyway, so enough about that.
Let's see. Anything recent?
School's out.
School's out. My daughter and I took a quick little holiday. I'm going to use the British term for vacation. They didn't call them vacations early on. They were holidays. You took a holiday, and we took a little holiday the last week of school. Is my mic in the wrong spot?
There you go.
There we go. Oh, now I sound sultry.
Yeah, baby.
We took a quick trip. It was a Mother's Day / Scarlett's birthday trip. Went to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers at Minute Maid Park in Houston. Fantastic.
Great.
It was a great show. I know you got to see them at a previous time.
First.
I was very jealous about and angry, but now that's okay. I'm over that.
And she was. The things that she said to me, people, you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't buy the ticket. It was a friend.
Yeah, it was a nice gift. And you got to go, and I got over it, and everything was fine.
But we still had the same issue.
We're still married.
But we still have the same issue, which is sit the
Oh, I know.
down.
I sent you the picture of that little couple. Wasn't that annoying?
We had the problem when we went to see the Chili Peppers.
You've almost gotten into 2 fights over it at concerts.
And what should be sit-down concerts.
Yes.
Chili Peppers for certain songs, stand up.
With a majority of it. But there's also an area where you can go and stand.
Right.
And not be in my fucking way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it was okay. Anyway, the concert was great.
Again, if you're one of those people that just stand up an entire concert
with no regard for the people behind you,
move.
We all paid the same for our tickets.
Or buy tickets in the back.
Yeah, something.
With the
Consider
losers.
that if you plan on standing the whole time. Anyway, so the concert was
great.
great.
Spend the money, and if I spend the money,
will you stop? Anthony Kiedis had an orthopedic boot on one leg and a knee brace on the other leg.
Yeah, well,
so,
there you go.
However, it did not slow him down at all. Flea, during the encore, in his strange, long, short / skort. It was a long skort. And he walked on his hands and showed us all his ass.
Nice.
Which we've all seen before.
We've already seen it.
Yeah, it's not a...
Did he have a sock on?
No.
Notice I didn't say socks.
He did not have a sock on.
A sock.
I think he was harnessed though. I think his genitalia was harnessed.
That's good. So he wasn't going commando.
We were cheek to cheek for sure.
All right.
Yeah. So.
Well, there you go. Anywho.
And a quick little plug for the Color Factory in Houston. I know there are a couple across the country too. And if you're in an area with the Color Factory and you're willing to go spend an hour with anybody of any age, it was fun. It was really fun. I liked it.
And definitely, if you're one of those people that really is into hallucinogenics, apparently that would really make it great.
I'm sure it would have, but
that's the way I understand it.
I'm the mom here, and I have to be responsible. So
and so you don't have any hands-on knowledge of that, but I've heard.
Okay.
and you get Jelly Bellies.
You get lots of treats. They give you like little macaroons. You get Jelly Bellies. You get little taffy.
Museums should consider. All museums
feeding us little snacks. We got ice cream.
I thought the World War II Museum, for instance, could give everybody a .50 caliber bullet. It's a little treat, right?
Mm-hmm. But at least they have gift shops.
World War I Museum, which we are going to see.
We are going.
I'm very excited about that. I think they should give out some really horrible candy like people back then had to eat, like whorehound
candy.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
There you go.
So that's what they should hand out.
Sure.
And one day the Torture Museum will get it together and they'll have a gift shop too. Yeah.
Because the Torture Museum.
Because Americans demand that. This is actually the, are we segueing?
Yeah, we're done with all that BS part of the show. Yeah.
Right. Opening is done.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to segue into, I guess it's the idea of marketers, really. We're back to advertisers. I don't know that it's a topic that we can drop.
Well, it's marketers, but it's a component of marketing.
It is, and social media has added such a level to that. So really, do you want to know where I started? Where my rabbit hole began?
Sure. Tell me about the opening of your rabbit hole.
My rabbit hole began with an article about weddings. Pre-pandemic and during the pandemic, I thought that was going to kind of back off, that people were going to recognize that it just wasn't all that, and you could get married and have a life without spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000.
A bazillion dollars.
But apparently things have gotten bigger and grander since then. Bigger budgets, longer guest lists, grander ideas. Almost every aspect of weddings has increased in price in the last 2 years. So the average cost of a wedding went from $28,000 to $29,000 from 22 to 23. Okay.
How much?
28 to 29. So it went up by $1,000. However, if you're getting married in like DC, New Jersey, or Massachusetts, somewhere over there on the East Coast, your average cost is going to be $40,000 to $45,000 for a wedding.
For a thing that is 50% likely to fail.
Well, I don't even want to talk about failure because I'm all about supporting everybody. I hope everybody makes it. But inflation, and I would say advertisers, inflation, and social media is driving this push, because I see it with our young couples and our young families.
Have to.
Yeah, you need to have that gender reveal party. Everything has to be bigger and better each time. 77% of wedding vendors surveyed said they are raising their rates in 2023.
Of course they are.
Highest cost that has increased, 25%, your DJ. That is the biggest cost increase that you've got from 2019 to 2022. Yes.
When you could literally just go, hey, Alexa,
play some wedding music.
Play some wedding music for the next 3 hours.
You could plan a playlist. Do your own mixtape, people. Let's go old school. So your DJ is costing you 25% more now than they did 2 years ago. Flowers, 20% more. Wedding dress, 20%. The only part that's gone down, and I like this actually, I think this could be a trend.
Okay.
The groom's outfit. Yeah. His has gone down by 3% because men are they're bucking the traditional
tuxedos.
Yeah, they kind of changing all
tuxedos are stupid anyway.
Well,
I don't want to rent something for a high price that somebody's already worn 50 times.
Well, I know, and it's just gone so the pressure has gotten ridiculous. Donut walls.
Well, first of all, there's only one person to blame for all of this, and that is the bride.
Well, social media. I think that the social media aspect, that the idea that everybody sees what you do, and they need to up the ante every time.
And I think what happens is women see this,
yes,
and then they harry their future husbands until they just go.
Until they just say, yeah, I guess. I think that might be it.
What sucks, though, really, truly, is for the bride's father, who's supposed to be footing the bill for all this.
Well, it's not just the bride's father.
Well, no, you've got to go to a bank and borrow money.
Well, that's my question always, and it has been on most episodes. Like, where are you getting all this money? Are we just charging everything? I mean,
nothing brings you together more as a couple than tremendous debt.
Used to be when you were going to get married, you picked up some bridal magazines and you planned a wedding. Now you go to TikTok. Now you go to Pinterest. Now, couples are getting their inspiration for their donut wall or their, fountain of fudge cupcakes. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah,
but it's extreme. And my other problem is they're dragging their friends and family into this madness, because now 40% of people who have gone to into a wedding in the past 5 years have gone into debt to be there for their friends.
That's insane.
40% of guests have gone because now they want to go to locations, right? You got to go somewhere.
Well, I know someone just recently that had to go to Mexico for a daughter or daughter-in-law, one or the other. It doesn't matter. But the point is, they'd take a trip.
Well, if it doesn't put you in any dire straits, that's fine. But a lot of people are saying they just feel guilty saying no. 62% of, if you're in the bridal party, then you're really in.
You know what? Don't include.
Well,
first of all, it's virtue signaling.
Well, it is.
Can we agree
because you're trying to, but the wedding,
and it is June, so all of these things are about to happen.
Oh yes, and it's the happiest day of their life, and it's I get it,
but it's all a form of, I don't know what to call it exactly.
Pressure. It's peer pressure.
It's peer pressure. And here's the thing. So you get invited to your friend's wedding. You're not married yet. Poor you. But you get invited to your friend's wedding.
Oh, and you
feel obligated to go because when you get married, you want to make sure that they come to your wedding.
Because it's the cycle of gifts.
But it also means that you need to make yours just a little better.
Yeah.
So each time, a little more, a little more, a little more.
Okay. And that's the point. And here we are now in 2022, the wedding industry, a $71 billion industry.
Fools. You're all fools.
Okay.
If you
Well, I don't know if I'm calling anybody a fool, but
I will.
I am pointing out that it is one day. It does not
when
make
I say
or break.
Fool, I'm saying if you spend more than $20,000, if you spend a car to get married, I mean, would you give? That's the question, right?
Would you give
up your brand new truck to get married? Because that's what you're doing.
Well, all right. So weddings is where it started for me because I was just so concerned about this trend that just is a continued pressure. You know, you've got to, and then you're still paying that off, and now your first baby,
and you got a house,
and you got to get a place to live. So all right. So couples, you don't have to do it. Your friends and family, you can have a beautiful day together. You can bring everybody and share in all of that joy without going into debt. You can do it
way cheaper,
and you can do it cheaper, and you don't have to one up anybody.
First of all, let's face it. Do you really need to wear white?
Oh, now, God. You really had to go there. I thought we were trying to be decent this time around.
I'm being decent.
Okay. And of course, you've got the bachelor party and the bachelorette party. And just the point is you're already.
I thought that was a hen party.
Well, the buck and doe or
whatever they call. I don't even know anymore.
Well, then don't worry about it. Don't say things.
Well, you know what? Here's what not to be. And I know this from someone much younger than myself. When you go out, ladies, on your bachelorette party, don't be woo girls. People in the service industry hate nothing except Sunday night visitors.
Okay.
As much as woo girls.
Well, if you're going to be a woo girl, just make sure you tip.
Oh, you better tip.
You need to tip.
You better.
Okay. So
you better.
There's I will not ever give up on the tipping thing. You're going to go out, you're going to do these things, and you're going to have people serve you.
Oh,
you need to tip.
That's right. Okay. Is that enough about weddings?
Well, it is because that's part of the whole.
Well, you mentioned
pressure.
Tipping. Can we digress for a moment?
Okay. So tipping.
So tipping.
That got us in trouble.
Yeah.
We got into a little tipping tip.
Well, for those of you who don't know, you can, we have the Long in the Boot Facebook page, and you can boost that page so it shows up on people's feed.
Yeah, because if you don't, your algorithms actually don't.
It's cheap, and it's an easy little method of advertising, and so we're not rich, so well, why not?
We do it from time to time,
and so I submitted the last podcast, which I had titled "Just the Tip." Which
with an explanation right after it.
With an explanation right after that the show was about tipping.
Yes.
I get just the tip is somewhat risque by itself, I guess.
Okay.
But honestly, it really wasn't all that. Well, lo and behold.
It's not a drag queen.
Facebook would not let me boost that podcast.
No, it said it was inappropriate.
Inappropriate.
Yes.
And it was the title that was
the problem.
So I appealed their decision.
They did not find it.
They still did not. No. I explained that it was humor and it was a joke. And I mean, okay, so here's my question.
So they're protecting you, listening community.
Well, I have a question. What if we had done a show on circumcision and called it Just the Tip? Would that be okay? Because they said it was.
Only if you're a licensed moil.
They said it was because of prurient content. Well, first of all, there was no prurient content in the podcast. The title by itself is really just a collection of random words.
We didn't even talk about penises or anything.
Or vaginas.
No. And scrotums.
Well, we did that the week before.
But we didn't ask to do that episode. Would they have let that go? We should try with the Philosopher's Stones. We got in trouble with that.
The Philosopher's Stones didn't have anything bad in the title. Right?
That's true. Okay.
So anyway, I just wanted to point out that interesting.
So you're going to try again is your point.
Well, that's why this episode is going to be titled.
The non-offensive titled episode.
Correct.
Yes, of Long.
But within this episode, words such as penis and vagina and scrotum and stones
may be said.
I'm not guaranteeing they'll be said. I'm just saying it could
past
happen.
Episodes.
Correct.
Because we often come back through cycles. I mean, the things we observe and see,
sure,
it's kind of it all works in a cycle.
Exactly.
Okay. Kind of like advertising and marketers and what they're doing to us and driving us to debt.
Well, and if you think about marketing in general, marketers are great at doing what they do, which is figuring out what you are willing to give up your hard-earned dollars for.
Yes.
But they're also really good at psychology.
Well, that's what the past 100 years or so has been about. They've been learning.
Right.
What drives us, what makes us work, what makes us open our wallet and say, I don't have the cash for this, but I got a credit card.
Yeah. And in fact, one of the first companies that was created just to figure out what people were interested in psychologically was created back in the 50s when advertising took off.
Mm-hmm. They worked really hard. Well, it really started in the 20s, but by the 50s, we were like, smell-o-vision in the theater so that you'd go buy popcorn.
And by the way, I should tell you that is a fact that many people who worked in intelligence during World War II, when they left after the war, they entered advertising and marketing.
Yeah.
Because they had figured out what motivated soldiers.
Yes, what made them work. And
they had figured out what motivated Americans.
When we make an agreement, it's an 11 o'clock showing of a movie. We say, we're not getting any popcorn. There's no reason. We'll just go to dinner, lunch afterwards. Right. But you walk into that theater and the smell is overwhelming. Ultimately, we always, even if it's a small bag, we get a bag of popcorn.
I'm firmly convinced that the smell of popcorn is actually a spray that they spray the carpet with.
Well, yeah.
Like new car smell.
Pier 1 had a similar thing happening with their scent in their store. And Starbucks, you're driven by your emotions.
Are you saying that somehow the smell of Pier 1 makes you buy the giant Buddha?
Well, it did, but not anymore because they didn't survive all that. They can't compete. What's the word I want? Compete with Temu. Speaking of wedding pressure, oh my God.
Temu wedding page?
No. Oh. What happens when Bezos gets married in space?
Oh, yeah.
Where does it go?
I don't know.
How do you compete with that?
Oh, what would be great is if Bezos and his wife actually get married in space. So they're in their space capsule.
They will.
Okay, great. So he's in his giant space capsule. Rocket penis thing. And come on, guys. You've seen the rocket.
No, it looks penetrative.
It's a penis. Anyway, right about the time when they're supposed to say I do, here comes Musk's Tesla and just crashes right through it. That would be literally the greatest thing ever.
Okay. Literally.
Now literally.
You sound like Rob Lowe.
I know.
You're doing Rob Lowe. I heard you say that. So, the current trend now, of course, since we're here, is summer vacations. And people are already doing some amazing things. I have people on my page who are in Paris. They're going to Spain. They're in all sorts of very sandy locations.
Well, we're going to be going to exotic Missouri.
Yes, we're going to Missouri. I don't even think I'm going to post that.
They speak a different language there,
Oh, good Lord, do they?
Yeah, they all talk like this.
Oh, yeah. I know. Are you going to have a soda?
Yeah.
All right, so let's not make fun of your people.
Excuse me.
They make fun of my people all the time.
Yeah, well,
so summer vacation.
That's because your people talk like this.
Okay. That can benefit sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah, that can be a benefit because you don't know.
Well, ladies can do it better.
Oh, yes. Bless your heart.
Yeah.
Yes, they can. So summer vacation, or as I said earlier, in Britain, it was it was holiday. They didn't even say summer. It was just you're taking a holiday because during the medieval times, you got religious holidays.
Lots of them.
You got a lot of them.
Holy days.
The holy
days.
So that's how they have a holiday as opposed to a vacation. But marketers understood something. We say, our school system is set up on an agrarian calendar.
Right.
And that is a myth.
It's a myth.
It is a myth.
Not true. So all of you out there who
tell us, you want to tell us the history?
Well, we don't need to get into heavy history here.
No, you don't. But, kids today, we have 180 school days, right?
Correct.
In 1842, New York City schools were open 248 days a year. But, there was no air conditioning.
Right.
So that became a feature within cities that...
Well, I could go back further.
Oh, yeah, we absolutely can go back further.
The first vacations, weirdly enough, were the ancient Romans. And it makes sense in a way because they had roads.
You have a road, you need to go somewhere.
And it was the first time in history that we know that people traveled for the sole purpose of leisure.
Of getting away.
Of just going somewhere else.
And in more modern era, we needed the middle class.
And let's face it, one of the very first requirements you need for vacation if you're going to, let's say, from point A to point B, is that there's no war between point A and point B.
Yes, you need a peaceful time.
And Romans, for a very long time, actually had that. There was no war within the Roman Empire. It was safe. You could travel all kinds of places. And in fact, at one point, you could travel almost to the Holy Land from Rome and not have to worry. It got sticky when you got near Jerusalem because there were lots of groups all killing each other for various religious reasons. And so it was a little sticky.
Yeah, but you still had to be of a certain socioeconomic class to do that. Because
why would you have gone to Jerusalem back then? We didn't have any other reasons to go, of course.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's bring it over to the U.S. 1800s to 19.
Hang on.
Oh, you still have history stuff?
Dark Ages.
Oh.
Couldn't travel. It's unsafe.
Yeah.
Nowhere to go. But what happened was vacation travel was displaced by pilgrimage. You
so
went
if we
to
call
places,
even
though it was leisure, you were going for a particular purpose, and it was spiritual fulfillment.
Okay.
That's important.
Yeah.
We get away for spiritual fulfillment.
Well, today it's for mental health, right?
Right.
So still a sort of thing.
And then when the Tudor period came up, this Henry VIII and his ilk, they started doing this thing called Royal Progress, where they would go around the kingdom in this big giant group, and they would basically take this long vacation. Now, for the people who had to service them, it was not a vacation, but for the rich people, it certainly was. The Puritans showed up in America, and any idea of vacation of any kind was not doing it.
We're not even celebrating Christmas, so.
But the Puritans also discovered that they had a problem, and they referred to it as brain fatigue.
Yes, I have something similar.
And so preachers and town leaders in America began advocating for time away from your local church and your local job, whatever it was. Hunting and fishing were being the most popular, but Puritans actually did not care for fishing and hunting because it was, again, you weren't working.
Yeah. That's the point. You have to have a class of people who can take a break.
Right. And now in America, of course, then we finally get to the thing that really made the difference. And it was the same thing that made the difference in England for travel, for regular people, railways.
Oh, yeah. You had roads.
You had a way to travel.
You had a vessel to take you from point A to point B.
And in America, it was safe.
Well, so the first vestiges really began in the decades after the American Civil War, when the wealthiest of the antebellum elites vacationed in resort towns like Newport, Rhode Island, and Saratoga, New York. The New York Times in 1869 noticed just a growing feeling among working professionals that they were sadly overdriven businessmen. So from one year's end to another, the man lives for the most part in a breathless hurry. If any folk in the wide world have need of a summer refreshment, it is we. So then print culture, began this ad, this pushing for the tourist industry.
Sure.
And a season of rest. So this is where we got that.
A season of rest.
And then we got periodical articles, tourist guides promoting, an escape to Martha's Vineyard, an Eden where you can shut out the whole world and be content. Isn't
it was
nice?
It was a guy named William H. Murray and wrote a book called Adventures in the Wilderness because he had gone camping in the Adirondacks up in northern, basically New York, in that area in Pennsylvania, and he wrote Adventures in the Wilderness or camp life in the Adirondacks. Either one. But anyway, it was designed to entice the middle classes to get out of the city.
Yes.
Just leave the city altogether.
It's hot, it's sweltering.
And it was designed, it was called the American Chautauqua Movement, named after an Indian tribe. And it was aimed actually at improving adult education about nature.
About nature, because city people weren't getting that. We had, once they left the countryside.
And so they built these giant lodges out in the middle of nowhere. Massive. And but they were literally just stuck in the middle of a forest. And people would go.
You're just going to have to get by.
So you'd drive to a certain point, and then you'd have to pack in to get to the lodge. It wasn't like you could drive straight to the lodge.
So you had to be somewhat hardy.
Well, everybody was hardy then. Yeah. Come on, let's face it.
Well, I don't know.
And but anyway, so that was a big push. And then as cars became more and more ubiquitous.
Yes, and that's an easy way to market cars, right? For families.
Fact, Ford actually sold tents that fit on Model Ts. There were different, all kinds of different
they
things.
understood the components that all went into taking a vacation.
Right.
And how much money could be made.
At one time, you were not considered middle class unless you took a vacation.
Exactly. So that's where the pressure. So by the turn of the 20th century, summertime was a part of American culture. Advertisers, musicians, authors all had a way to tell stories that were connected to nostalgia and romance. I mean, summer is what inspired F. Scott Fitzgerald. Kodak.
Yeah.
Kodak attracted customers with their campaign that solidified the camera as the essential tool.
Capture your memories.
And you need to tell the story of a summer vacation.
Poets, Emerson, Thoreau, advocated exploring nature. In fact, it was those two guys and their travels in the wilderness on vacation that helped create the American Park Service. And because Yellowstone Park was actually run by the Army until 1916.
Okay.
And then it became part of the National Park Service. This was all...
Well, and didn't Teddy solidify all that?
Teddy Roosevelt was so enthralled with nature that he made huge tracts of America.
Yes, and we appreciate that.
And yes, we appreciate it.
Clearly, it was necessary because as far as developers go, they wouldn't give a shit about the nature of things. They would just develop.
And so you have these places on the East Coast and then Yellowstone. And when Yellowstone opens up, there's nothing there really, but the Northern Pacific Railroad made the park accessible from New York. You could literally go from New York to the park.
Well, speaking of that, you've got the urban planners in New York, Atlantic City then, right? They were looking for leisure activities for working class people. So we've got Atlantic City,
in the 1820s,
Coney Island,
boardwalks. Yeah. The other thing too, we can't discount this about Atlantic City. Atlantic City brought together all ethnicities. Coney Island as well.
It did, except that the people of color were working.
Well, but there were many that came for vacation. They just had to use their own beaches.
Yes, they could. Yes, and if you were working, you couldn't use it during the day. You could only go out at night. As one worker, every third day I worked as a rule from 6 a.m. until 11 o'clock at night, often later. During the day, I seldom had any time for my own. I wonder if the colored waiters will ever have only 8 hours of work every day.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Newport, Rhode Island was created simply to be a vacation spot, weirdly enough, in this 1800s period. Irish families went there in huge numbers because they were tolerant of Catholics, as much of Rhode Island was.
We'll put up with you Catholics.
The New York Yacht Club began traveling there in 1844 and established a harbor as a sailing destination. But this is when it gets weird. The crowd grew so opulent during the Gilded Age that when the Vanderbilts built these enormous seaside mansions that they called cottages.
Oh, yes. Mansion cottage.
And it got so crazy with rich people that in 1900 in Newport, Rhode Island, servants outnumbered family members 2-1.
Wow. So they needed that much.
But think about all the other people that had to service that. So you got whole families moving there.
But there's the point about the whole cycle of capitalism, right? That without all of these things, we as a country don't work.
We don't exist.
Yeah. So we have to have it, but we're way out of balance. Look, they were out of balance then.
They were out of balance then, and it was nothing.
Nothing compared to now.
By the way, while we're on that subject, if you're extremely wealthy, I'm not talking about anybody that listens to this podcast, but if you are.
No, people who have
but if you're
Rockefeller money.
Bezos. There's this book by Andrew Carnegie called The Gospel of Wealth. Mm-hmm. If you could go ahead and read that, that'd be great.
Take notes, annotate.
And actually maybe try to, I don't know, repeat some of Carnegie's behavior.
Donate things, libraries.
Build libraries.
No, actually
How about
today,
just build housing?
Today, libraries are in the hot light.
Yeah, housing.
Housing for
people
low
need
income.
housing.
Yeah, go to San Francisco. You can start there. You don't even have to start here.
Or you could start some new insurance companies that actually know what they're doing and stop gouging people, because eventually nobody's going to be able to afford to live in a house because the insurance.
That's my point about all of this.
Marketing.
How do you keep up with the pressures of all of this? Have fun. Your family needs to be having a good time. You need to have good pictures on your TikTok and showing the great fun you're having.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we got people who can't feed themselves or their family.
Coming on the next Long of the Boot podcast, join us for the great marketer hunt.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, and not everybody can find the balance within all of that. And so we're just saying to you, it's okay not to spend $20,000 on a wedding. It's okay
to not spend $50,000 to go to Disney World.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Well, I mean, and is it a status symbol to say that you can do it? Sure. Okay. If that's what you need to be part of society and feel, I don't know, what fulfilled.
It is a weird thing though, because my most relaxing place anytime, and if we're talking vacation, it's supposed to be a way to release your mind.
Yeah.
Right?
And usually when we go somewhere, it's more stressful.
Yeah. Home.
I like being home. Yeah. But we're weird.
Oh, yeah. I forgot
we have to keep going back to that we're not the social animals that
no, we're not.
Most people.
I mean, we're social like this, but
oh yeah, well, and in the classroom, I love my students.
If you want to call,
I love my listening community.
Yeah. Like my students, love watching all my former students.
And I enjoy your pictures of your fantastic vacations and your little successes. You know?
I even get a little bit of a charge every now and then when I see somebody in the mugshots who I once had in class. That gives me just the tiniest little.
No, it does not. Unless it's one that you go, oh yeah, I knew he was going to get arrested.
Oh yeah,
I knew that was going to happen to that kid.
And,
all right.
Yeah.
So, summer vacations, weddings,
that's what we're doing.
All the things that.
Don't listen to marketers.
Yeah.
And what are lobbyists in government but
They're
marketers? They're marketers.
Yes, and that's a huge problem.
And I'm gonna give you some words of advice from George Carlin. First of all, is if the government says it, it's a lie.
Are you? Do you have a clip?
No, I don't.
You were in here forever. I thought you had a clip.
Well, too many F-bombs.
Oh,
I just can't. That's too many.
If I say it, it's okay.
No, but I don't need to put an explicit tag on my podcast.
But it's George Carlin.
Yeah, I know. And lots of young people don't know him, but that's the way it is.
So upper middle class, rising society, all of that.
All of it.
The most wealthy and affluent, and we all want to be like them. So,
we do?
Yes. Legislators and labor unions also argued for counterbalancing a regulated summer holiday break for school kids.
Yeah, it's not about farming.
It's not about farming, but they also made the point in the stories that I read in the research that it also wasn't about education.
No.
It was not about really in the cities during a period of time.
Heat.
It was about heat, but it was about the fact that the kids just weren't coming to school, and since they had no mandatory attendance at that time, they figured they better do something. But it absolutely never at any point had anything to do with how we educate our kids and farming. How much time they need to be, or about the farming part.
Well, first of all, if you think just logically, farmers don't need as much help in the middle of summer as they do in the spring and the fall. They need it the spring and the fall, And
harvest
so that right there should let you know that's BS.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, you know what? Where it's time change, go away. Please
and the idea that that our government wasn't thinking about the education of our children. They were thinking about how much money can be spent during that time.
It wasn't until pretty recently that the federal government had anything to do with education at all.
Yeah, it was all local.
And it's certainly gotten so much better since the federal government took over.
Sarcasm.
Wah, wah.
All right.
Lies. Oh, lies!
You did have a clip. Thank you, baby.
You're welcome. Yeah. So I did look one other aspect of vacations, which I think is kind of cool, is the roadside stuff. America became,
because I traveled this country a lot in the late 60s with my dad in a car. We did a lot of road travel.
Well, did you know there is a place in California called the Mystery Spot? And according to legend, in 1939, a handyman named George Prather went out for a walk in some woods one afternoon when he began to feel slightly dizzy. When he checked his compass, he discovered the arrow was spinning around. Oh. He soon discovered other anomalies in the area, and he was fascinated and thought others would be as well. So he purchased a 3-acre parcel of land, built a shack on the side of what came to be known as Gravity Hill.
Oh, so there's like no direction in that spot?
For a small fee, Prather would lead visitors out to the shack. Remember, this is 1939.
Okay.
Out to a shack where balls would roll uphill. Guests could lean far out over their feet without falling, all seemingly to defy physics. And it drew thousands upon thousands upon thousands
I'm sure
of people.
It's a curiosity.
It was featured 10 years later in Life magazine.
Okay.
And later on television, and even more hundreds of thousands of people
went to see it.
Went to the Mystery
Spot.
A
giant ball of yarn or whatever.
And so...
Well, wait. So what was the explanation?
He built a tilted house.
What?
That's why balls would roll uphill.
Oh, geez.
The structure's imperceptible slant. You couldn't tell because of how he built it.
What about the compass? I thought it had something to do like geological.
I'm sure probably lodestone under the ground.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, so the Mystery Spot is still working today.
Even though we know the trick.
Yes. We also have
humans. You crack me up.
We also have in Texas Canyon, Arizona, since 1969, The Thing.
We just watched that the other night.
The attraction is hard to miss.
It was not good. I did not want to see it.
There are 247 billboards touting The Thing, also now known as the MacGuffin, along the highways between Phoenix and El Paso.
You need to look up MacGuffin, people.
The guy writing the article says, I won't divulge what The Thing is, except to say that the exhibit was originally created by a man known for peddling shrunken heads, mermaids, and other biological oddities in a sideshow.
Ripley? Barnum? Who?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't tell you. Oh, okay.
But you can see a real mermaid.
Okay. just stop with all that.
No, it's true. In Florida.
Of course, there's a mermaid in Florida.
In Weeki Wachee, Florida. I'm not making that up, by the way.
Okay.
Weeki Wachee, Florida. A swimmer named Newt Perry established the Mermaid Show in 1947.
The Mermaid Show.
And it was an underwater ballet performed by women dressed as mermaids.
Mermaids, okay.
And what they did, and Esther Williams actually was there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I loved all those movies when they were synchronized swimming.
They had little tubes of air hidden here and there.
Okay.
So as they would swim around, they'd like swim behind a rock.
And get a breath.
Get a breath of air, and then keep swimming. And that's how they did it.
And okay.
I thought that was kind of cool. There is an I-90 in the Dakotas. You are in the middle of nothing on your way to Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Because why not build?
Because it's still there right now. So if you need to see it, you better go soon.
This is 1940s. Somebody decided, I'll bet people would really like some free ice water. And so he began putting up billboards, hundreds of miles in either direction.
Billboards to advertise free ice water.
To turn Ted Husted's humble small-town drugstore into a cowboy-themed mega mall.
Oh.
And his wife, Dorothy, leave it to the wife, said, I'll bet if we gave away free ice water, people would come.
Oh, they'd stop for that.
So Wall Drug.
Because nobody's doing bottled water.
Wall Drug has evolved in what is likely the nation's most famous roadside attraction, drawing 2 million thirsty visitors to a remote South Dakota town.
Still a component of it today?
Yep.
Wow.
And I won't even get into Route 66. But Route 66 from one end to the other was nothing but sideshow, roadside attractions, especially, and apparently people like colossal fiberglass things.
Because humans.
Examples. You can see on what used to be Route 66, and it's still Route 66 in some places. But anyway, you can still see a giant hot dog.
Yeah.
A giant gun, actually several. Mini pies. with the world's largest cow head.
Oh.
Many of the world's largest ice cream cones, because they all say the same thing.
What do they say?
Here on this side is the world's largest ice cream.
Oh, and just by virtue of saying it, it's true.
Exactly.
Because we've come back to that now.
We have restaurants that look like shoes, sombreros, and UFOs.
Okay.
We have diners who are served in trolley cars, cabooses, airplanes. We have motels that look like alpine cottages and, of course, Indian teepees.
Yes.
Wigwam Village is the most famous. It's been in all kinds of movies.
So really it made a comeback. Like we know when highways were built that Route 66 kind of lost their appeal for a while because you could go faster on the highway and all of that. And then you also had franchise things popping up. So all of the individually owned little Route 66 attractions kind of fell by the wayside. So they made a resurgence. Is it the nostalgia? Because that's how they advertised it initially, right? It's nostalgia.
Well, it seems to be everywhere. The world's largest ketchup bottle is in Collinsville, Illinois.
Okay. Why do you need to see that?
I don't really know.
Okay.
But, I mean, the world's largest
you know what? It's
bottle.
A cheaper vacation. It's probably cheaper than many other things.
But none are as famous as the duel over the world's largest ball of twine.
Yeah, twine. I said yarn, but I knew this.
A Minnesota farmer named Francis Johnson, son of a senator, began tying the ends of spare bits of twine together in the 1950s. And then Frank Stober of Cawker City, Kansas, began building his own. Stober wound so diligently that he eventually surpassed the size of Johnson's ball, despite his later start. In 1973, Stober's ball of twine was the first to be recognized by Guinness as the world's largest ball of twine, currently measuring 11 feet in diameter.
So Johnson's ball wasn't as big.
And all would have been done.
Okay.
But then Stober died. And Johnson
caught
up.
Yeah.
And he's been confirmed in 1979.
So Johnson was going to give it up.
Yep.
Until he died. And then he said, oh, now I can outdo him. Well, that's a bit of an ass.
And now you got to go to Darwin, Minnesota to see the largest ball of twine.
No, I really don't.
No, I'm not.
No, I have no desire.
In Cawker City, Kansas, where Stober worked on his ball, people now add to it. So it is a continuing process.
Then that's a community ball.
And today, at the last check of Guinness, the world record people, the one in Kansas, not Minnesota, is the largest.
No.
But they put an asterisk. Stober's is the largest ball of twine at 40 feet in circumference and 8 million feet of twine. But Johnson's ball remains the largest wound by a single person.
Oh, with nobody contributing.
Wow.
So he didn't get help from the community.
No.
Well, we've established that humans like balls, they like games, and they like competition.
And vacation.
And
money.
And competing
weddings.
with their friends and neighbors. We mentioned keeping up with the Joneses last time because everybody seems to need to do that.
And that's why weddings cost so much. They keep upping it.
Well, yeah.
And it's women.
Yeah.
I blame women.
Oh, I do too. I'm not a huge Reddit person, but man, I have read
I've never seen a man
some
going,
horrible bride stories. Women are, look, dudes, save yourselves. If you recognize that she has become a demon when it comes to just planning the rest of your life, day that's going to start.
Or her mother, because she's going to turn into her mother anyway.
So you need to be aware of that and not be scared. Well, you might be scared and you might back up. Yeah.
I've never seen a man's face when you say, hey, I hear you're getting married. I've never seen the face going, yeah, I sure am. No, it's more like,
unless.
Here you go. This is how it works. Hey, I hear you're getting married. Yeah.
Well, that just means they're planning a wedding. That's really the difference. You're getting married versus I hear you're planning a wedding. Because
the man goes, I'm not planning anything.
I'm not planning anything. Yeah. I'm just, okay.
Just along for the ride.
That can tell you a little bit about the future you're going to have together.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess we better wrap it up.
We got to wrap it up because we got to go get packed.
Yeah, we got to pack.
We got to pack. And clearly you're going to have some editing to do.
Clearly, I've got a little bit of editing.
We had the chicken call in the middle of that, and you had the coughs, and I heard the helpers back there barking about something they thought was wrong.
That may not get cut out.
Well, I can't do anything about those little yappy mouths.
No.
Okay. So people, don't let the pressure get to you. Be willing to step back and say, you know what? I don't need to give this party for all these people. Your joy is portable. Bring it with you, and don't attach a price tag to it.
And remember that the best vacation you can have is spending quality time with your family.
Balance.
All right. Balance.
Bye, community. Enjoy.
Y'all have a great one. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.